Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we're here in Hyde Park. This is also called the Rose Garden in Hyde Park, not Regent's Park. And there's a lot of auspicious parrots around.
Although now that we've started talking,
Yeah.
they've stopped making their noises. So.
Yeah. Maybe they're listening to the reading.
Yeah.
Oh, here they come. Although, yeah, they have gone.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're going to continue our reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Where are we?
It's Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 7.
Canto 3, Chapter 7, and the chapter is entitled?
Further Inquiries by Vidura.
Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Alright, text 7. O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of this niscience, and I therefore request you to
Is it
clear...
definitely 7?
Yeah, because I put my...
Oh, yeah. I think we didn't read 6, did we?
You know what? No, it's... Yeah, it's 7, because we read all that.
Did we? Okay.
Oh, anyway.
Sometimes it's not so easy to be consistent.
Oh, it's a dog now.
Come on.
O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of this niscience, and I therefore request you to clear it up. Purport. Such mental bewilderment, as represented here by Vidura, takes place for some living entities, but not for everyone. For if everyone were bewildered, there would be no possibility of a solution by higher personalities.
So who's speaking here?
Vidura.
Is Vidura speaking?
Yeah.
Vidura said, so Vidura is speaking to Maitreya and saying that his mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of this nescience, and I request you to clear it up. So he's posed a few questions.
Yeah, you know what?
What?
I think we didn't read 6. I think that's why my sticker's there. And it would make sense what Vidura is going on about. Apologies.
Okay.
Right, text 6. The Lord as the supersoul is situated in every living being's heart. Why then do the living entities' activities result in misfortune and misery?
Yeah.
It's a good question, actually. Purport. The next question put forward by Vidura to Maitreya is, why are the living entities subjected to so many miseries and misfortunes in spite of the Lord's presence in their hearts as a supersoul? It's true. The body is considered a fruitful tree, and the living entity and the Lord as supersoul are like two birds seated in that tree. The individual soul is eating the fruit of the tree, but the supersoul, the Lord, is witnessing the activities of the other bird. A citizen of the state may be in miseries for want of sufficient supervision by the state authority, but how can it be possible that a citizen suffers from other citizens while the chief of the state is personally present? True. From another point of view, it's understood that the jiva living entity is qualitatively one with the Lord, and thus his knowledge in the pure state of life cannot be covered by niscience, especially in the presence of the Supreme Lord. How then does the living entity become subjected to ignorance and covered by influence of Maya? Oh my God. Oh my God. Hello.
You got a little phone there. Hello, puppy. Well, that's all going on today.
We got a little visitor. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, it came on. You could see it on.
How then does the living entity become subjected to ignorance and covered by the influence of Maya? The Lord is the father and protector of every living entity, and he is known as the Bhuta Brit, or the maintainer of the living entities. Why then should the living entity be subjected to so many sufferings and misfortunes? It should not be so, but actually we see that it happens everywhere. This question is therefore put forward by Vidura for solution.
So now it makes a lot more sense, right? The question, and starts to explain why I was so bewildered, and because we didn't read one of the verses, and everything has to be kept in context, right? So, what are your thoughts? You think, yeah, of course, why if the Lord is personally present, why should someone suffer misery and misfortune and like that, right? Good question.
Not really. It's down to one's own personal choice.
Because the Lord gives free will.
Yeah, it's like a parent gives you the best advice. Some children are just, naughty and do otherwise. The child goes into jail and says, well, you're my dad and you failed me. Not really. I'd be like, not really, you failed me. You didn't follow my advice.
Okay, so we're going to move on. We've already read 7, but just as a reminder. So Vidura is questioning because he's very confused, and with asking this question, and the point Prabhupada makes in the purport is that that you have to find someone who's not bewildered in order to ask them the question, so that you can become unbewildered, because otherwise if everyone's bewildered there's no hope, basically, right? So now Shukadev Goswami will speak. Shuka, there we go. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O King Maitreya. Sorry, let me try that again. So Shukadev Goswami said, O King Maitreya, being thus agitated by the inquisitive Vidura, at first seemed astonished, but then he replied to him without hesitation, since he was fully God conscious. Purport. Since the great sage Maitreya was filled with God consciousness, he had no reason to be astonished at such contradictory questions by Vidura. Therefore, although as a devotee he externally expressed surprise as if he did not know how to reply to those questions, he immediately became perfectly settled and properly replied to Vidura. Yasmin vigyate sarvam evam vigyatam bhavati. Mundaka Upanishad 1.3. Anyone who is a devotee of the Lord knows about the Lord to some extent, and devotional service to the Lord makes him able to know everything by the grace of the Lord. Although a devotee may apparently express himself to be ignorant, he is full of knowledge in every intricate matter. So I think the point here is that on both sides, Maitreya is expressing astonishment, but actually he's fully God conscious, so he knows how to answer. And at the same time, he seems astonished that Vidura is posing such questions, but even though Vidura is posing such questions, he's also fully God conscious and knows the details. So therefore, really the questions are being asked for our benefit, and like that. So
Text 9. Sri Maitreya said, certain conditioned souls put forward the theory that the Supreme Brahman, or the personality of Godhead, is overcome by illusion or maya, and at the same time they maintain that he is unconditioned. This is against all logic. Purport. Sometimes it appears that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is 100% spiritual, cannot be the cause of the illusionary potency which covers the knowledge of the individual soul. But factually there is no doubt that the illusory external energy is also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. When Vyasadeva realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he saw the Lord along with his external potency, which covers the pure knowledge of the individual living entities. Why the external energy acts in this way may be considered as follows, as analyzed by great commentators like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami. Although the material illusory energy is distinct from the spiritual energy, it is one of the many energies of the Lord, and thus the material modes of nature, the mode of goodness, etc., are surely qualities of the Lord. It makes sense. The energy and the energetic personality of Godhead are not different, and although such energy is one with the Lord, he is never overpowered by it. Although the living entities are also parts and parcels of the Lord, they are overcome by the material energy. The inconceivable yogam ashvaram of the Lord, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 5, is misunderstood by the froggish philosophers. In order to support a theory that Narayan, the Lord himself, becomes a Daridra Narayan, a poor man, they propose that the material energy overcomes the Supreme Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, however, offer a very nice example in explanation. They say that although the sun is all light, the clouds, darkness and snowfall are all part and parcel of the sun. Without the sun, there is no possibility of the skies being overcast with clouds or darkness, nor can there be snowfall on the earth.
Interesting.
Although life is sustained by the sun, life is also disturbed by darkness and snowfall produced by the sun. But it is also a fact that the sun itself is never overcome by darkness, clouds or snowfall. The sun is far, far away from such disturbances. Nice example, no?
Yeah.
Only those who have a poor fund of knowledge say that the sun is covered by a cloud or by darkness. Similarly, the Supreme Brahman or the Parabrahman, the personality of Godhead, is always unaffected by the influence of the material energy, although it is one of his energies. Parasya Shakti Vividaivam Sruyate.
So, very nice example. Just like today, although yesterday was amazingly sunny, today is overcast.
Yeah, because it's bank holiday, so everyone knows that.
So,
the bank holidays are,
Anyway, so the sun seems to be hidden from view, and one might say that the sun is covered by the clouds, and it is from our perspective an angle of vision. But actually, the sun is never really covered. The sun remains fixed and situated in its position, emanating light and supporting life, like that. And the point that's being made that's really expert is that the sun has created the clouds, because the sun is what causes evaporation and moisture to rise from the seas or from the ocean and the lakes and the rivers, whatever, to form clouds. So it's by the potency and the power of the sun that these things are created that apparently cover it. And there's no, in one sense, no difference, because the clouds are the energy of the Lord, but yet, and they may appear to cover the Lord, but actually, if one is in knowledge, one understands very clearly that the sun is never covered by the clouds, never really affected by the snow, even though a blizzard is kind of caused by the sun also, and it creates coolingness, or cools everything down, or freezes everything, and yet the sun is so hot. But the sun has created that, So anyway, interesting.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
No, I think you said it all.
Oh, that's good. Thanks. Okay. Continuing with the purport. There is no reason to assert that the Supreme Brahman is overpowered by the illusory energy. The clouds, darkness, and snowfall can cover only a very insignificant portion of the sun's rays. Similarly, the modes of material nature may react upon the ray-like living entities. It is the misfortune of the living entities, certainly not without reason, that the influence of the material energy acts on his pure consciousness and eternal bliss. This covering up of pure consciousness and eternal bliss is due to avidya karma samgya, the energy which acts on the infinitesimal living entities who misuse their minute independence. According to the Vishnu Purana, Bhagavad Gita, and all other Vedic literatures, the living entities are generated from the Tatastha energy of the Lord, and thus they are always the energy of the Lord, and are not the energetic. The living entities are like the sun's rays, although, as explained above, there is no qualitative difference between the sun and its rays. The sun's rays are sometimes overpowered by another energy of the sun, namely by clouds or by snowfall, Similarly, although the living entities are qualitatively one with the superior energy of the Lord, they have the tendency to be overpowered by the inferior material energy. So now the example is given of the sun rays, and we are like sun rays, or sparks of the original fire, or rays of the sun. And the sun is never overpowered, but the rays themselves can be apparently overpowered, although they still remain sparks of that original divine energy.
And connected.
And connected. Yes, and Prabhupada goes on now. He says, in the Vedic hymns it is said that the living entities are like sparks of a fire. The sparks of fire also are fire, but the burning potency of the sparks is different from that of the original fire. Wonderful example again. When the sparks fly out of touch with the original fire, they come under the influence of a non-fiery atmosphere. Thus, they maintain the potency to be again one with fire as sparks, but not as the original fire. The sparks can everlastingly remain within the original fire as its parts and parcels, but the moment the sparks become separated from the original fire, their misfortunes and miseries begin. Again, wonderful example about how the living entity leaves the spiritual world and comes to the material world. The clear conclusion is that the Supreme Lord, who is the original fire, is never overpowered, but the infinitesimal sparks of the fire can be overpowered by the illusory effect of Maya. It is most ludicrous. It is a most ludicrous argument to say that the Supreme Lord is overpowered by his own material energy. The Lord is the master of the material energy, but the living entities are in the conditioned state, controlled by that material energy. That is the version of the Bhagavad Gita. The froggish philosophers, still on about the froggish philosophers, who put forward the argument that the Supreme Lord is overpowered by the material mode of goodness, are themselves illusioned by the same material energy. Although they think of themselves as liberated souls, they support their arguments by a false and laborious jugglery of words, which is a gift of the same illusory energy of the Lord. So the Lord gives the frog philosopher his knowledge by which he can come up with the philosophies to even explain away the Lord, who is the source of all of his knowledge. Dun, 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 dun.
It's like some weird matrix.
Oh my God, the matrix. But the poor froggish philosophers, due to a false sense of knowledge, cannot understand the situation.
In the 6th canto, 9th chapter, 34th verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Durava Bodha Ivata Vayam Vihara Yoga Yad Asarano Sarira Idam Anaveksi Tasmat Samavaya Atmanaiva Vikriya Manena Saguna Aguna Sri Jasi Pasi Harasi. There's no translation, so anyway. Thus the demigods pray to the Supreme Lord that although his activities are very difficult to understand, they can still be understood to some extent by those who sincerely engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The demigods admitted that although the Lord is apart from the material influence or creation, he nevertheless creates, maintains, and annihilates the complete cosmic manifestation by the agency of the demigods.
So I guess we'd have to look up that verse, 6th canto, 9th chapter, or 34th verse. We'll look it up pretty quick. Anyway, any thoughts or anything?
Oh, it's powerful purport. Very good purport. You know, it's not, even though it appears Krishna's covered, it's his own energy, and he's using his energy to cover. You know, the example of the sun and the sun rays, how sun rays may be temporarily covered, but the sun is too vast a product to be even, I mean, you can't even get near it. That's the other thing, which is also interesting. It just says you can't even get near Krishna. Really, you got to be on some seriously pure platform to even start to approach him, you know? It's not that anything or anyone can just approach the planet, some planet.
Yeah, this verse at the end is 6th canto, chapter 9, verse 34, and this is the pastime of Vritrasura. And I'm not 100% sure who's speaking, either Vritrasura or the demigods, but the translation is, "O Lord, you need no support, and although you have no material body, you do not need cooperation from us." So it must be the demigod speaking. "Since you are the cause of the cosmic manifestation, and you supply its material ingredients without being transformed, you create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation by yourself. Nevertheless, although you appear engaged in material activity, you are transcendental to all material qualities. Consequently, these transcendental activities of yours are extremely difficult to understand." So there you go. So that's
And that's a prayer from the demigods, who in one sense you could say are his, like, you know, empowered department heads, so close to him as far as, you know, being direct boss, and still they acknowledge that it's not easy to understand you. So what to speak of, as Prabhupada says, the froggish philosophers who are so far down the chain of intelligence and importance.
Okay, so I think we'll conclude here, and we'll pick up with text number 10 next time.
Yeah.
And we thank you all very much for your kind participation and attention and enthusiasm to hear from Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, the hearing of which is the perfection of one's life.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.